Just like having the right information is necessary to make solid hiring and lending decisions, being engaged in our community is important. DataFax is proud to support the positives and be a presenting sponsor of the Spark.
State Systems is focused on protecting life and property. As a local, privately owned company, our foundation was built on providing all businesses with complete fire and security protection and infrastructure cabling. State Systems is proud to be a part of the Mid-South community and a presenting sponsor of the Spark.
Lipscomb & Pitts Insurance has been serving the Mid-South since 1954. We've always focused on supporting our community and believed in promoting the positives, encouraging engagement, and leading by example. Lipscomb & Pitts is proud to be a presenting sponsor of the Spark.
Additional funding for the Spark provided by Christian Brothers University and Power & Tel.
This month on The Spark, our theme is literacy. We'll learn more about an organization that's been working to increase the literacy of Mid-Southerners for over 40 years through group literacy classes, individual tutoring, and resourcing other nonprofits. We'll discuss an organization bringing the Imagination Library to children under age 5 in Shelby County so they receive an age-appropriate book each month. And we'll explore how a local media company is using its newspaper, online, direct marketing, and social media resources to serve the public and give back. Have you ever been excited by a new idea? Inspired by watching someone lead by example? When we talk about creating change, we start by sharing the stories of everyday heroes who are making a difference in their own way so we can learn and do the same. This truth is the power behind this show, which is focused on business and community leaders that are leading by example to give back, fuel change, and create new opportunities for the Mid-South. I'm Jeremy Park, and this is The Spark. They're bringing the Imagination Library to life here in Shelby County. I'm here with the Executive Director for Shelby County Books from Birth, Peter Abel, and let's start with some context on what is the Imagination Library?
Yeah, thank you. The Imagination Library is a national program. It's delivered in all 50 states. Not every community in a state, but all throughout the country. It was started by Dolly Parton, one of the most famous Tennesseans we have in Sevier County in 1996. And the idea was, this is a very rural community, but kind of the same thing you deal with in urban centers, is no access to books. So she could do something about that. In 2004, this program was then launched across the entire state, and each county started up their own program. As you can imagine, Shelby County, with the most kids of any county in the state, we have about 20% of the kids that are under age 5 in the entire state live here in Shelby County. So this was a more challenging deal. You make it universal, so it's available to all kids. We have about 65,000 kids in that age group. And over the past 10 years, we've just been enrolling kids and making sure that they have access to this program.
And so, a number of important points. One is under the age of 5, right? So from birth to age 5, that's the age range, right?
Absolutely. So our name says it all. We want you, when you get home from the hospital, we want you to start thinking about the home learning environment. And even before your child can get what's happening with reading, it's important that moms and dads and grandparents and all the people raising our kids here build that nurturing environment to sit down, and the kids shouldn't remember the first time they were read to, because it was always part of their daily routine, and that's what we encourage by starting from birth.
And so it very much is a process and a program, and so when you look at it, you're mailing them to their home. There's also a number of different distribution points, but that way they have a monthly book that comes to them that they can then use, correct?
And there's really two reasons why that happens. One is it's a monthly reminder. A new book, but a monthly reminder, hey, we need to read. And we hope you read anything, all kinds of books you have access to or other materials. And then the neat part about it is this is the only piece of mail a kid is going to get in their early years.
Because it comes in their name.
With their name on it. And we hear from all the time from parents that they're sitting by the mailbox,
Is my book here yet?
Yeah, absolutely. And we've had stories that, you have this horrible situation where one kid's birthday and the other kid feels bad they didn't get anything. Well, kid's book comes that day and, Dolly Parton saved the day. So we've heard all kinds of stories like that from parents that the kids really love that part of it.
And they're age appropriate. There's a curriculum behind this in the sense that I know the pages, they're thick at first and more picture driven, and then they start shifting a little bit as they get a little older. Right. Talk about kind of the official program.
A group of very smart educators came up with these appropriate themes for these different age groups, and the book titles are chosen each year based on these themes. So we have 60 books at any given time, but there's really about 150 books that need to be in rotation to make sure that we're keeping the titles current and relevant.
Sure.
And we don't, if you have a kid a couple years later, you're going to get some repeat books, but we want to make sure that there's some new titles brought into the program.
And share with us, obviously the learning value in terms of starting at such a young age. You get the enhanced vocabulary, the foundation for learning as they shift into kindergarten and first grade, but also too building the bond between parent and child. Talk about some of the benefits.
Well, those are all very closely linked. So when we talk about literacy and language, it's based on pre-literacy and early language skills, and they're very different than words on the page and phonetic awareness and all these other things that other people will focus on. We want to make sure that from the early days there was a strong bond around building a home learning environment between the caregiver and the child. And that's an important part of success in education. So we just want to make sure that that resource is available and that is encouraged just from day one. That's books from birth. We want to make sure that it starts at the earliest possible time.
And so, share with us, you said 10 years, which obviously you built up a great legacy yourself here in the Mid-South. And share with us just some of the numbers. I mean, at this point, it's thousands of books. It's, what's the impact overall right now when you talk about 10 years?
We have about 40,000 kids currently registered, which means that's how many books we send out, age appropriate, each month.
Wow.
Over the course of the year, it's about 500,000 books we're sending. And over that time of 10 years, we will have had 100,000 kids who are either actively in it or have graduated. And we will have mailed about 3.5 million books directly to kids right here in Shelby County.
And so volunteerism plays an important role in this as well. I know that with some families they might move and you have volunteers that come in and help with the tracking and manually inputting the new addresses. What are some of the ways that we as the public can help Shelby County Books from Birth?
So first of all, we just want to make sure in your sphere of influence and who you deal with, just make sure they're enrolled. This is universally available, so every kid can be in it. And we just want to make sure that people do that first. We have advocates throughout the community that I'll actually never meet. Nurses, security guards at clinics, daycare workers who just make sure that their kids are in it because they know the value and the impact. But on the other side of that, we enroll 1,200 to 1,300 new kids every month, and 70% of those we have to physically take the form and hand enter them into a computer, and we have volunteers that do that. So we have all kinds of help from people that drive that progress and getting kids enrolled into our program.
And the other side of this, many parents that receive it don't realize that if they can afford it, it's very low cost, obviously on your end because of the relationships and the access, but that's a big way to help other families is covering that cost.
Right, so our local cost, that book you get in the mail costs us about $1.70, which is an amazing cost.
Absolutely.
It covers all aspects of it, the packaging, putting the name on it, buying the book, specially printed in most cases, and then mailed to your house. So that's about $20 to $21 a year. We do welcome donations from parents, though we don't hound you about it because we really want you focused on getting your kid ready for school. Then we will invite all parents to give when their kid graduates. But so it's a community partnership. We have donors from every zip code in Shelby County. Every single community not only has kids enrolled, but they have donors that support us, which is a very powerful thing to be able to say.
Absolutely. What would you say, give us one success story. When you look at just the impact that you're having as an organization, what's one success story that stands out to you?
Well, one of the exciting things that's happening in Memphis and Shelby County is all the different reforms and the ways we're approaching education. And the way I see it, this is a great conversation to have. The best way to educate our kids, that's always a good conversation to have.
Absolutely.
But what we hear from all levels, whether it's the Achievement School District or Shelby County Schools or charter schools, parochial schools, is that when their kids were enrolled in Books from Birth, those are the most engaged families and those are the kids that come up ready to be in kindergarten from the first day. We not only know that from people telling us that, but we know that from research that's been done by the Urban Child Institute. So it's a very powerful impact we can have in a relatively easy way to deliver it.
Because what's the stat? Is it 80% of your cognitive development happens?
Your brain is at 80% of its size, and it's by the time you're 3 years old. It's very important that as a community we focus on that early learning environment. Kids are talked to, kids are read to, kids are played with. These things really need to happen at a very early age.
So tell viewers where they can learn more and plug in with Shelby County Books from Birth.
Visit us at booksfrombirth.org or give us a call at 901-820-4501. We're also on Facebook.
Nice. Well, I greatly appreciate all you're doing here in the Mid-South and for coming on the show and sharing it.
Thanks, Jeremy.
They're a local media company using their resources to serve the public and give back. I'm here with the Director of Audience Development for the Commercial Appeal, Jeff Cowens, and very rich legacy when you talk about the Commercial Appeal here in the Mid-South and well over 100 years. Give us some context and the history with the Commercial Appeal.
Yeah, so like you said, we've actually, next year we will celebrate our 175th anniversary of delivering a 7-day newspaper. So there's a lot of history behind our walls.
And that covers everything from Elvis Presley, Martin Luther King Jr., rain, snow, shine, everything in between, right?
We got it.
Nice. And so one of the biggest evolutions when you look at the Commercial Appeal is going from traditional print, so the paper that you get, on your doorstep in the morning, to now it's highly interactive. So I mean, you're talking social media, you're talking everything from Facebook to Twitter, and also too with the columnist and journalist even themselves being highly approachable, highly engaged.
Right.
Share with us that shift from more of broadcasting to conversation.
Yeah, so with the added social media aspect, we really have to focus on not only are we putting out this print piece, but how do we get people to the print piece? People can get their news anywhere, and we want to make sure that they get some of their stories from us. And so with the Facebook aspect of it, we actually have community managers in our newsroom that they are focused on making each headline a conversation.
Nice. I mean, that in and of itself is a huge shift when you talk about just, focusing solely on putting out a paper to now, how do we make this bite-sized pieces that are in 140 characters or less in some cases, but to your point, a conversation starter in and of itself, and then having to moderate those conversations. Yep. The other aspect is that, you see the print side, but behind the print are humans. And these are people like you that live, work, play, raise their families here in the Mid-South. Right. Share with us kind of that aspect of the human side of what you're doing, but the conversation aspect of this.
So I think the greatest example is Jennifer Biggs, our food reporter. She told me a story where she was at a dry cleaner and somebody had heard her name or saw her, recognized her, and he was going on a first date and wanted to know, like, what's a good restaurant, what should I order? He wanted to look very up and up when he was to impress this girl. And so Jennifer, actually, they emailed back and forth for about a week and a half and helped him plan his date.
Nice.
Apparently it was a successful date, but...
So going way above the Call of Duty right there, obviously.
Right.
But it's relationships. I mean, when you look at the paper, the Commercial Appeal, it's the people and forming the relationships and very much becoming a fabric of the community. And I think, you see the print side of it or you see the headline. Many people don't realize it's months, weeks, days, hours of journalism before you ever see the story.
Right. I go to a meeting every Wednesday for an editorial meeting to talk about what's coming up in Sunday so that we can market that, get ahead of it. And there are many times where we'll talk about a story, but it actually won't be for another 5, 6, 7 weeks out because the interviews that need to happen, the approvals that need to happen, and the pictures that need to be taken.
And talk about the weeklies. I think this is a unique side. This was fairly recently in terms of the launch for these, and you have different versions in different geographical areas for the Mid-South here. But the whole focus is on positives, and it's also too it's kind of user-generated content with press releases, pictures. Just talk about the weeklies. Yeah.
So we have every day. I get an email or a phone call from someone that wants to promote an event in the city, and we'd love to do it. And that's kind of where the weeklies came about. Anyone can submit anything they want. Pictures, if you're out at an event tonight, a birthday party, you can take a picture, write a little article, and submit it. It may or may not get in, but for the most part, it is strictly user-generated, and the more we have from the community, the more we can put out in the paper.
I love it. And that's a great transition point to the philanthropy for the Commercial Appeal. Talk about volunteerism, because I think kind of back to the idea again that you guys are all living here, working here. This is where you're raising your family. I know George Cogswell himself, the publisher, serves on 7 different nonprofit boards. So service is really important. Share when you look around the office, just volunteerism, how important that is.
We always have stuff going on with us in the community. We do a lot with Pink Paper Day, where we actually publish the paper in pink. But we do a whole big event out in our front parking lot. There's always events and signs around the building for people to get involved. And I know from myself personally, I've reached out to you and to really get involved with some of your different nonprofit events as well. So it's a big thing for us because we want to write the stories, but we also want to be in the stories.
Nice. And when you talk about philanthropy too, you've done some very creative things, whether it be on the audience development side, but also too on the print side. Share with us a little about those relationships and the contribution side.
Sure. So one thing, we pay thousands of dollars to solicitors every month to sell subscriptions for us. And so what we've started to do is look back at giving back to the community. And so what we want to do is we've partnered with Boy Scouts of America, Munford High School Marching Band, Humane Society, to basically allow them to sell a subscription, and we give a hefty portion back to them for their everyday use.
Nice. And then on the print side? And
then on the print side, we have a full commercial print job shop in our basement that a lot of people really don't know about. And what we're starting to do to promote that is actually give back 1% of all of our jobs there too. Nice.
One of the reasons I want to have you come on talking about something really interesting here in the community is little libraries.
Sure.
And so it's perfect you have Literacy Mid-South and also too Shelby County Books from Birth, because they're two partners in this project along with Porter Leith and some other groups. But the idea really came from you seeing these magazine racks and saying, okay, how can we use these for something good and upcycle them? So that's a little teaser, but share with us about the little libraries.
So the whole story, when I got down here last June from Cincinnati, I immediately saw all these racks sitting in our back parking lot. I took a picture and I put it on my Facebook page and said, what could we do with these? So I have one friend that has one in his man cave in Cincinnati, but the rest of them, I got the idea for little libraries, and I reached out to you and it seemed like the most logical thing to do, and I think we're going to see some really good success from it.
Absolutely. And so, the kind of the gist of it is you take these magazine racks and companies have adopted them and they've repainted them and made them all kid friendly, but we've put them in daycares and youth driven centers with these different nonprofit organizations, and the kids that way they can open them up and they have access to all of these free books.
Right.
And I think that's where it's really important when you talk about the commercial appeal, being a connection, being a resource, sharing the news, but also too it's focused on literacy and information as children as adults. And I think that's a really important, to me, shift together that we can make focused on literacy and education with our youth.
Yep, definitely. Our kind of big saying in the office this year is, an informed Memphis is a better Memphis.
There you go. Easy enough. Well, I greatly appreciate you coming on the show
and
sharing all the good things you're doing.
Yeah, it's all good.
With the theme of literacy, it makes it really easy to have an organization like Literacy Mid-South. We're here with the Executive Director, Kevin Dean, and Literacy Mid-South. Give us a little bit of the historical perspective for the organization.
So Literacy Mid-South has been around 41 years. It was started in 1974 by a group of really committed volunteers that saw literacy as a civil rights issue. One of them was Nina Katz, who was a Holocaust survivor. She came to America, saw that there was a literacy problem that wasn't being addressed, especially with low literacy in adults. And so they got it started. It grew and grew to be the organization it is now. We merged with several organizations to become Literacy Mid-South. Started as Memphis Literacy Council, but now we're serving adults and children through a lot of different programs.
Yeah, and that's a perfect transition. Talk about, though, first, just the numbers. When you talk about adults that are not literate here in the Mid-South, what is that number?
The number is 120,000 people in Shelby County read below a third grade level. Wow. That's a pretty shocking statistic that we don't talk about enough, that there are people that can't read the newspaper. A lot of them can't fill out a job application. They can't read their prescriptions. These are things that it's a safety issue, it's a quality of life issue, and that affects their children too. Because if you can't take care of yourself, it's going to be really hard for you to really take care of your kids.
Well, and that goes back to the civil rights issue, is that it permeates every aspect of your life, whether it's a mortgage application, a job application, reading the prescriptions, all of those things you might not think about, but literacy permeates every aspect of your life.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, even getting on the bus and finding your way to your new job, you have to be able to read that. And I have trouble sometimes reading the stuff at my doctor's office. I have trouble reading legal documents. Imagine trying to read that or understand that if you're on a third grade level. It's almost impossible.
So great segue, talk about the program. So you alluded to the different ages that you kind of work with, and talk about some of the very specific programs for those ages.
Sure. So right now we're working a lot with third grade reading, because third grade reading is when you stop learning to read and start reading to learn. And there's an interesting correlation between that and our adult program, because most of the people that come into our program are on a third grade level or below. So that's when the stumbling block really happens, when you're on your way and you're progressing. If you get behind in third grade, you're behind until you graduate, if you graduate. Most people drop out before that. So third grade's a really important part. We think if we can address the systemic issues of that, we can take care of it. So we have eyeglass clinics for Achievement School District. We have 1,800 kids that got eyeglass exams last year. We're starting this year. We're starting a dental program with Christ Community Health Services, because there are statistics that show that dental hygiene is a barrier to attendance. Kids have toothaches and they don't go to school. So we're trying to address issues that would keep kids from going to school, which attendance is a huge problem. Make sure that the physiological barriers are addressed, as well as making sure that kids are at grade level reading.
And so carry that forward then to the adult side and talk about the adult program.
So the adults, we serve adults 18 and over, and those are people who read below a 6th grade level. Most of them, as I said, are about 3rd grade or below. So we hear all kinds of stories about how they ended up there, how they ended up not being able to read. Sometimes it's a sick parent. Sometimes they were bullied in school and they dropped out. Sometimes they had an undiagnosed learning disability. So we have a volunteer program where we have 250 volunteers serving 500 people every year in our program, teaching them how to read in 31 different libraries around the Mid-South.
Wow. So each volunteer basically has 2 that they work with, 2 adults, and they go through a training program with you, and then that's where all of a sudden now the magic really starts to take place, because as a volunteer you get to see the impact you're having on someone's life.
Yeah, you get to see people go from a place where they can't read anything to being able to get their driver's license, or be able to fill out the forms online to get a job. These are things that are really wild to witness, in person, because their lives are changed because of this. We have one guy, he started out in our program, couldn't read. He was recently out of jail and wanted to get his life turned around. Through our program, he got his driver's license. He had failed it several times, got his driver's license with the help of a tutor, got his first car. He owns a car now. He used that car to get to work because he was having to ride the bus, so he got a job. But then from there, he got a better job, and for the first time in his life, made a living wage.
Wow.
So yeah, I mean, it really changes lives.
Life-changing, absolutely. Yeah. And one of the other interesting things about what you do is you're very collaborative. And so in many cases, you're taking your programs out to different sites, kind of like the libraries, but taking them to where they are. Talk about some of the partnerships.
Sure. So one of the things that we realized, there's 500 people in our program, we're at capacity, and there's 120,000 people who need our services. A lot of those people don't have access to our services, even though it's in the libraries. That's either because they're, something in their life is keeping them from being able to travel. Transportation is an ongoing issue in Memphis for a lot of people. So what we realized was we could duplicate our services in programs that already exist. So we don't have to have them come to us. Right. We can meet them where they are. So for example, Friends for Life, they work with people who are HIV positive, living with HIV, and so we took their Positive Living Center, and now it's an education center. They realized a lot of their people couldn't read. And then Memphis Teen Challenge, they work with recovering substance abusers. They're in the program for I think 2 years, and during that time they could be learning to read. So they started their own program where they're teaching their clients how to read while they're in treatment.
And so already you start seeing, okay, central themes in terms of volunteer activation, being able to plug in with Literacy Mid-South. Talk about some of the ways we as the public can help your efforts.
Well, our volunteer program is constantly in need of volunteers. We always have people coming in. We do intakes every Monday at the libraries, and it's just an open call, so people come in, so we always have a need. Sometimes we have up to 100 people who need a volunteer at one time. So you can go to our website at literacymidsouth.org and find out about volunteer opportunities. We also have a lot of great special events, our Mid-South Book Festival and our Literatini event every year, things like that. You can get involved in, if you can't commit to 6 months of once a week tutoring somebody, you can get involved in our special events because we always need volunteers for those.
And that's a big one. Talk about the book festival in terms of just the annual aspect of this and bringing in authors from all over to be able to focus on literacy.
Yeah, so we've done reading campaigns before in the city, but we really wanted something where anybody can come. It's free, and people can come and meet authors one-on-one. They can have this shared experience with other readers. So last year in 2014, we started a book festival. It was going to be a half-day event, and it became a 4-day event because there was so much excitement and anticipation. We had 3,000 people show up the first year,
wow,
which was great. And then this year, it's Overton Square. I'm sorry, in Overton Square, in Playhouse on the Square and Circuit Playhouse, and it's going to be there for several years to come. But it's going to be 4 days. We have 65 authors. It's going to be great. Every year, it's going to get bigger and bigger, and
nice,
it's free. And there's kids activities, there's adult activities. The whole family can come and learn and meet famous authors, and it's great.
So make sure, get involved with Literacy Mid-South. Greatly appreciate you coming on the show and sharing all the great things you're doing here in the Mid-South.
Thanks for having me.
Literacy is a crucial foundation for the success of our community, for our individual careers, our quality of life, and our future. It's been said that up to the 3rd grade, you're learning to read, but after the 3rd grade, you're reading to learn. Literacy starts at birth. As we saw in this month's episode, reading to children is of paramount importance because it builds vocabulary, enhances learning, prepares them for success in school, and strengthens the bond between parent and child. That's why the work that Shelby County Books from Birth and Literacy Mid-South are doing is so critical, and it carries forward to helping adults so they can become better educated and more employable. The news media and journalism play an important role as well in helping us remain current, connect, share, and grow. It's even more powerful when the media becomes a community champion and uses its resources to give back, like the commercial appeal. So thank you for watching The Spark. To learn more about each of the guests and to interact with your stories of others leading by example, visit thesparktv.org. We look forward to seeing you next month, and we hope that you'll join with us in creating a spark for the Mid-South.
Just like having the right information is necessary to make solid hiring and lending decisions, being engaged in our community is important. DataFax is proud to support the positives and be a presenting sponsor of The Spark.
State Systems is focused on protecting life and property. As a local, privately owned company, our foundation was built on providing all businesses with complete fire and security protection and infrastructure cabling. State Systems is proud to be a part of the Mid-South community and a presenting sponsor of The Spark.
Lipscomb & Pitts Insurance has been serving the Mid-South since 1954. We've always focused on supporting our community and believed in promoting the positives, encouraging engagement, and leading by example. Lipscomb & Pitts is proud to be a presenting sponsor of The Spark.